My face. Hi, hello. My name is Sydney Fleming. I have another YouTube channel called Sydney's World. Probably it's I think it's just Sydney Janae now. But hey, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're gonna be learning about the Azure Cloud fundamentals. I have Azure going on in my head so that I don't get played for copyright. But just to say that I am here basically learning about the AZ400, AZ400, AZ900, and y'all will get to kind of see a little bit of what I'm working on. I don't know if I can screen share, but you more or less be getting in a lot of the emotional turmoils because I do want this recorded. I do want at least like the journey of learning so that it can be recorded and be like, I remember this time in my life when I had to learn this. Also, my face is completely different. And I have a quagmire. Somebody said this he a quagmire face. So I have a quagmire face. So I don't well, right now it is currently 7:45. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it 7:44, 7:45. The arrival time of this of that we should be done with this 8-hour video is about 4 a.m. We'll see how long this lasts. It may last longer. It may last less. I may fall asleep and be stressed. But currently my room is in a state of disarray, so I may pause the live stream just so I can take care of that. But so far, hold on, I'm trying to. Here we go. This is the timer for how long it's gonna take, but that's what we're expecting, about a good 3:40. So I'm gonna say 4 a.m. Hopefully I can get that done in time. We already have some notes going and flowing, so I'm expecting to be out of pages by the end of this and have a working infrastructure. So for those who don't know, and I'm going to go ahead and kind of give you a little bit of a synopsis of what um Azure, what Azure is fundamental wise. So basically Azure, Microsoft, as Microsoft does, owns a lot of different parts of software engineering, cloud solutions, gaming, phones. I remember when somebody had a Microsoft phone, that shit was trash. Not to talk any, smack about it, but that's what that was. So basically they're just doing anything from cloud infrastructure to actual programming, and but also producing different game consoles. So what is Azure? And I just actually found this out. So Azure actually is the bright blue color of a cloudless sky. And for those who don't know, Microsoft is in, we'll have plenty of those interactions too. But Microsoft's headquarters is actually in Redmond, Washington. So the rainy state of Washington, which is really funny that Azure is called Azure. But basically, it's Microsoft provides cloud platform services, cloud service provider. Azure is a cloud service provider. I get these. I have ADHD and a little bit of dyslexia, so like I get things swapped around. So please excuse me. But basically, Azure provides all of these different cloud computing softwares. So all the way from managing, storing, loading, automation, AI, Microsoft has that. So it has cloud services, and basically, why would you choose Azure? And I also am saying this with little knowledge of AWS. I was studying for that, but that just got tossed the wayside with classes. And then Google Cloud Provider, I believe is the other one. And then you have Azure. So they're the main three, the three that are the big bag dogs. But today we're going to be talking about Microsoft. So why use Azure? Because it's cost effective. They have a pay as you go model, so you're not going to be charged an outrageous amount. Like AWS has, I would probably say hundreds, as does Azure, but it has hundreds of different services that you can use, that any corporation could use. And it'd be really kind of sucky if, you go into the grocery store and they said you have to buy everything when you only came in here to buy eggs, bacon, and cheese because it's about to snow. So Azure has the opportunity, or has the option of pay as you go, which is pay go or pay G, pay as you go, and you'll pay for the services that you use, for the consumption that you use. And a lot of corporations like that because the biggest thing is the bottom line. How much are we going to be charged for using X, Y, and Z services? What kind of beneficialness comes out of using these services? And what infrastructure can we build with these services? So it's not only cost effective, it's global. So in one of the main Azure fundamentals for on the website, and I would say I would link everything. I don't know if I can link things here, but just look up Azure fundamentals on Microsoft, and it'll take you to Microsoft Learn. But they have multiple different data centers throughout the world. So not only are you saddled down to having to take care of your different data that's been uploaded on prem, because that's also the issue that we're running out of. It's like some places may not have the room to have their own on-prem data center. So then you kind of have Azure where, once again, they're global. So you're going to be open, one, to that global market that they have. And that's where I said that they have a lot of, like, hundreds of different services that you can use. That some of that aren't even necessarily tied through Azure. I mean, through Azure, through Microsoft. And then you have the multiple fact that you can choose any region in the world and that you can launch it from there. Now, I don't know, like I said, what I can actually show and what I can't show on there or on here, but I don't have OBS and I'm not going to download OBS. But once again, you can find all this out through that Microsoft Learn and through the Azure. You get $200 worth of credits that you can use for a month, and then it's pay as you go. Page. So what else? So now we talked about pay as you go. They're everywhere, their name is in everybody's mouth. They're in every single country, every single place they have a data center. So now we're going to talk about security, because we're dealing with data. So data needs to be in a secure, you need to line up with NIST. NIST. And NIST is not in my mind right now what the acronym stands for, but it's like National Security Standards. They're setting up the national standards, and it comes down to dealing with your PII, personal identifiable information, your data. Every single thing that's being passed into your company has to be protected through this. So this cloud provider already takes care of the hassle of having to make sure that that data that they're being entrusted with is going to, one, be protected. Two, it's going to remain unfettered, if that's the word. It's going to remain untouched, because you have that security of, like, okay, when we put it into the cloud, it's not going to be messed with. So then it also gives you the security to kind of manage what your users are doing. So once again, we're going to talk about my husband's mom texted me. I'm like, she's so sweet. Anyway, so then we come down to the part where we're talking about the security, but we're talking more, instead of the security on the cloud provider, it's now on you. So Azure also brings back a lot of the issues that a lot of people kind of think of when they want to manage the governance of their data. It's like, okay, well, now we're leaving security in the hands of this cloud provider. What can I control? So that's where, like I said, Azure kind of gives you that reach of being able to, one, control everything on a granular level. So as even page by page, it gives you access. It'll give like a whole list of roles, groups, where do you fall in this role, in this group, and then determining on that, it'll determine on how much access you actually have to edit, delete, to see. So if you think of any type of website that requires you to go to the next page, have to input your information, Azure. Azure does that. So that's where it comes down to. And then it gives the architect the opportunity to decide what is actually going on in their cloud environment, rather than just having everybody in the sun have access to this one door. Okay, and then it's reliable. Backup. So the same way I just talked about it being secure, it also is basically also saying, hey, one, this information that we're being tasked with protecting, saving into the cloud, whatever it may be, also needs to be able to be reliably sourced. I need to be able to obtain it at any point in time. So it comes with data backups, disaster recovery, data replication, which is just copying that data and then storing it somewhere else, and then fault tolerance. And fault tolerance, for those who don't know, is a system's ability to continue to work even though one piece of the machine is broken. So think about a robotic arm. The cog in the arm is not working anymore. That machine's down. It's not like that, where the cloud will say, oh, okay, well, this warehouse, and this warehouse is responding, but this one on the outlier is not responding. What information, this is replicated, what information can we go through and find and then give back to the user? And then you have reliability, scalability. So once again, the same way that you're paying for what you want to use in this, you're also having the opportunity. So today I only need to use this pen, or this pencil, but tomorrow I may need to use this pencil, this pen, this mechanical pencil. She's been rocking with me for a while anyway, and this pen. But I also need, once again, you'll be charged for what you use, duh. But in that being said, you can now pay for more. So maybe today I don't need these two. I only need these two. And the next day I only need this one. Just the scalability allows for you to increase and decrease the resources and services based on your demand. So the same way I need all those pencils, the same way I did need all the pencils. So Elastic. There's a lot of talk about automation right now. I mean, obviously, automation is not new. Automation is relatively old in the grand scheme of things. But automation, as in scaling during spikes and drops, you can have a automated script that will. Okay, so today we took in 30,000 pencils. Okay, so we're gonna need to make sure that we have enough space on my desk for 30,000 pencils. So tomorrow we only need 20. Well, okay, let's make sure we have that automated so that all the data that we needed to silo in this particular part is not needed anymore. So yeah. Also, once again, like I said, cloud is much bigger than just resource groups, VPNs, virtual machines, APIs, application preference interface is not that. Let's see. I keep putting S. Okay. Application programming interface. Well, shoot. Anyway, this is once again, I think we're going to be rounding the 8 p.m. mark. I'm not sure if I'm going out tonight, which I don't think we probably are. But yeah, I'm going to invite I'm going to invite I'm going to invite her to this, and but tell her just fast forward to what's live. Fast forward to what's live. So let me see if I have my other account on here. If not, this is gonna be really awkward. I'm gonna have to go search for this. Oh, I do. I'm gonna send this to her and be like, come check out my live stream. Oh. I'm gonna tell her check out my live stream. Oh, I have no videos on here. Y'all can't see these. I would like to say I wanted to send her my channel and be like, check out my channel. Check out my channel. Check out my channel. I'm doing good. I hope your day is going well. I'm live streaming my learning, and I hope to give you guys the same exact spiel once I've gone through these next like 8 hours and just be like, so anyway, guys, here's what I was talking about before. Chicken scratch. Here's what I'm talking about now. I'm 2 minutes away from please check it out. So I'm gonna, I want to show you guys. I mean, she's gonna see it, but she's not. These were the ones that weren't. I didn't get these for her per se. I got these for a couple people, but I also want to show some of the things I got as we're rounding up to that minute mark, to the time mark that we have kind of to go. I went to a craft fair. This was free at the craft fair. Didn't pay for it anyway. I snagged a couple free things today, and this is really from I got a smart Bujo. So hopefully this is gonna help with my scattered brainness. So I got a couple of these to send in the mail, but most importantly, we're really looking for one of the postcards. I'm not gonna show you the one that I already, unless this is the one for her. This is the one for her. This is the one I'm gonna give my parents. They're not on YouTube. They're not chronically online. But I'm in Minnesota right now. So I got this one. This is kind of the outside of the depot of where of Union Station, where I went today, where they had the art fair that was free. So I'm super excited to send this in the mail to them. Cute little postcard. So yeah. So now it's 8 p.m. officially. So if y'all do not mind, I'm gonna reset this timer because I was really at like an 8:30 hour mark. So 4:30 a.m. is our arrival time. As you've seen, we've gone through this 16 minutes in. All I've done was gab, gag, and let's go. Like I said before, you will not be able to hear anything because it's in my headphones, but I will be giving my outward commentary as well. Because I also realized I learned that way. And then halfway through, I will switch it up, or at least after every kind of segment of the video, I'm going to go through and read the accompanying or work on the accompanying Azure Microsoft Learn that goes with this. Because if you ask me, this is the easiest way, one, to kind of make sure that what you're learning is actually staying fresh on your mind and not just overloading yourself. And this also has, and I'm also using the free Codecamp. Everything I use, I will link in a separate video of talking about this. And it'll probably be like a 20-minute video of just me like, so here's what I learned in Azure and just kind of moving from there. And then as I work on more projects, I'll probably live stream it. But who knows? Anyway, let's go. Oh shoot, I think I have clothes that are done. I don't know what to do with this. I don't know if I should leave or if I should. Let me send a picture of this to my. Hi. Well, give me a second. I'm gonna tilt y'all up a little bit so I can go do what I need to, and I'll be right back. We're not gonna get there until 5 in the morning, and I got church tomorrow. So let's go. I just went. So if you ever get the opportunity to come to Minnesota, go to the Bins, go to Chromatic, hit up these places. I should do a vlog. I will most definitely do a vlog. So okay. I just explained the same that they're explaining right now to y'all, but in my own way. Oh, and here's another part of why we should use Azure or the benefits of cloud computing as a whole is that there's underlying hardware and managed software patches and upgrades that are provided by the service provider. So with the whole issue of wanting to make sure that you're an agile company that's being focused on where your data is being stored, cost effective global presence, security wise, reliability, scalability, elasticity, and then you also have current. So that's just making sure that all that software, all this stuff I just mentioned, is covered by them. So it's going to remain current. It's going to remain up to NIST standards. It's going to make sure that you get to your information uninterrupted. So cloud, and here's the central antithesis of cloud. Cloud is primarily about making sure that the data, just like putting your photos up in the cloud, making sure that whenever you need that data, it can be easily grabbed or easily sourced, rather than you having to go through. And I would just hold it to akin of having your information all on a computer. So then you have to go comb through these different files to find that said data, where it's just in a cloud. It's easily accessible. It's easily accessible within the cloud. So you have all these different promises of that everything that I need taken care of that the cloud providers said they were going to do is done. Oh, he said fewer interruptions than you would have on-prem. So types of computing, I believe they're going to be talking about platform as a service, software as a service, if PaaS, SaaS. I think it's application as a service, but I don't think so. Software as a service. Oh, so yeah, and then after this, I can explain the difference between SaaS, PaaS. I forget the other one. So as he says, software as a service, once again, everything's taken care of by the originator, by the provider of that software as a service. So, Snapchat. Keep this super duper current. YouTube. So every single thing that's wrong, you don't worry about YouTube being maintained, because YouTube as a service, this might be a platform, as a platform is going to be taken care of. But I just consider this more as a service than a platform. But just, you don't maintain it at all. You come to the website, everything's sourced, curated for you. You log off, the apps gets updated. It works. It's available for you at all times. Oh my gosh, is she gonna join? Oh, that she's gonna join. I was like, she's gonna join. I'm gonna tell you, you want to be my one watcher so I can. Will you join my live stream? Would you? Thank you. Thank you. You should tune in to my live stream so I can tell you about cloud services. That would be. But basically, yeah, you don't worry about it. Everything's done by a provider. That's your man. Your man will provide for you. That's your man. Hold on, let me write this on a completely different page, because clearly that was not enough to do that. Okay. Triangle. SaaS. Okay. Tune in. No, ma'am. Ooh, I think you should tune in. So you know how they always are urging us to like buy more cloud storage? I'm gonna explain it to you, but in a video so I can talk directly to you because I've been talking to nobody for the past 25 minutes but myself. So I would really appreciate just if you were in the audience. You don't have to watch the previous parts. Please don't watch the previous parts. She's gonna be like, she's gonna be like, what's this girl doing? Which valid. I don't know how to share this. I don't know how to share this. I do not know. But you know what I will do? I will use the Apple thing of all you gotta do is take a picture of it and copy and paste. What's what's the rush? I'm a dog. I'm a you know. Slow it down for a minute. There's a reason why they watch all night long. So magnetic when I'm going on no. When I'm walking with you, oh, from shake, baby, that's what you do. Baby, on the comp, did snow, even on the measurements, got it on like. That's right. We gotta be prepared for this. It don't make no sense. I'm gonna get copyrighted. Okay, anyway, I'm sorry. If she joins, if I see the little thing join, I will go back and explain it. You're a SAS user. Oh, so the examples that they gave was Office 365, Gmail, Salesforce. So these platforms that you use to mainly do your work. That's what I would always say. Anything that allows for you to do your work is more than likely a software as a service. Salesforce, Gmail, Office 365. It might be YouTube. You, as a user, are not responsible. I would say responsible for. Oh, hi, Shannon. Hi. Okay, so great. So then I can go ahead and explain this. So just like I said in the message, it's just like everybody keeps talking about wanting to move everything to the cloud. But then you oftentimes are curious, like, what is the cloud and how does the cloud work? And who are these people who are managing the cloud? Because these are all common questions that I guess. Oh, she. Oh, no. Come back. No. I'm not me. No, come back. No. Oh, that was so sad. Oh, that's so cringy, Sydney. It's okay. Anyway, let me just. You don't have to watch the full thing. Okay, hi. Hold on. You don't have to watch the full thing. Okay. Hi. Miss Janice, can you comment in the chat? Comment in the chat if you can. I don't know if it'll let you. Hold on. Let's see if I can comment in the chat. Hello. Ooh, that's not how you spell hello. Hello. What the Okay. What's the third one? Hold on. I gotta figure this out. Come on. I want to see what the third one is. These are SaaS, PaaS, and I'll explain those in a minute as well. Okay, infrastructure as a service. Okay. So now, hi. Hello. So welcome to my learning of Microsoft Azure fundamentals. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a background on Microsoft and what Azure Cloud Services really is. So basically, as we know, Microsoft, the big billionaire corporation that it is, has its hands in multiple different pots. So all the way from creating technology, it's mainly a technology corporation, but from software, phones, tablets, consoles, search engine, but most importantly, what a lot of businesses and companies are looking at it for, is for its cloud services. So, cloud services is essentially a cloud service provider. So, making sure that all your data is held responsibly and safely. And that's just basically where it's held. So Azure, funny enough, means a bright blue sky without clouds. And I think it's very ironic because Microsoft's headquarters are all the way in Redmond, Washington, which I'm pretty sure that state is. She left. Okay. Oh, she liked it. She didn't leave. Oh, did she leave? I don't know if she left. Since she's not here. She's back. Okay. Hold on. So let me give you the fact rundown. Okay. So basically, what is up with cloud and why are we using the cloud? So the cloud is a really cool thing. So it allows for you to take on what you're actually looking for. So if you need a platform that's only going to hold on to pictures, documents, and data, guess what? Azure has something for that. But it goes a lot deeper because when you need to manage your company's data, so you need to manage passwords, websites, those photos, documents, everything else that needs to be managed can be done in Azure. So it's a cloud service provider, and the reason why most people turn to it is because it's cost effective, it's global, it's secure, it's reliable, it's optimizable, which I believe it's scalable is the word that they used. And then you can also automate it. So, and I'll go through those list by list. So, as I said before, you don't want to go into Walmart and then buy all these pencils. You know for a fact you're only going to use one pencil with this pencil. So, you want to pay for this one pencil. Similarly, it goes with your different cloud services. So, I may only need Databricks, Data Factory, Key Vault, and a VM. And one thing about cloud services, they're pricey, they're expensive. So if you have to have these multiple different things like going all the time, you're going to be charged for it, which is also why we like using cloud services because it's pay as you go. You pay for what you need, you pay as you go. If you need more, you pay more. If you need less, you pay less, which is where the automation part comes in of it being able to kind of track how much data you're putting in, and then it can grow the demand of what you need for that infrastructure, or it can decrease it depending on, like I said, the data load. But global, there are, I'm going to venture to say more than 50, but I'm thinking hundreds of different data centers around the world. Each region of the world has 2 data centers, maybe 3. And 3 is because of the different geographical things that could happen. So those anomalies in the weather that could happen, that's why you have 3. So if one goes down, you have 2 more within the region that are still working. And then I didn't write this one down. Shoot. Well, that's that for that. It comes down to also the security of it. So when you're trusting a cloud provider, they're responsible for everything. So all the information that you give them, they're one expected to stand to NIST standards, which is the national standards for cybersecurity or cryptography, basically making sure that your information and data is safe. And then you can also, as an administrator or as an architect of your different cloud biome, you are the one who can control what's happening, who has what access, how much access that each person has, setting up different business units, business groups. Okay, well, the cloud team needs to be able to see everything. However, the business team only needs to see business related information. And then you also have reliability. Like I said before, there's multiple different data centers that it is linked to. So on top of that, you have what we have in the United States, what could be in Africa, what could be in Brazil. Like, your data is going to make sure that it's going to be there. So it's going to be replicated and then made available for you at any time. I can't think of the other one. The other one is scalability, as I said, build up, build down, and then the automation. And then where I'm currently at right now in this video is talking about software as a service, which is mainly for customers. So think about your Salesforce, Office 365, Gmail, and then you have platform as a service, which is really for developers. You're mainly focusing on provisioning, on deploying management of these different apps and entities that you have. And then infrastructure as a code is the basic building block. So that's where I'm working this summer, is with the basic building block of building that infrastructure so that you can have your data here and make sure that it's accessible so then it can go, so they can go up the pyramid. So like I said, we have right up here, this top level platform, software as a service, platform as a service, infrastructure as a service. That's where we're kind of getting it with computing, or with cloud computing and cloud technology. So thank you for listening. I gave a really silly in-depth one before. If you want to go back and scrub through and go find it, I don't suggest it. It's kind of cringy. I'm cringy, but it's very cringy. But I just wanted to say thank you so much for staying tuned and watching all of that and listening to my crazy ramblings, because I feel like this is really cool. I'll be probably doing this live stream for the next 9 hours. 9 hours and some change. Might do a break and then wake up in the morning and continue on. But when you love what you're learning, it's never work. It's just expanding your breadth of knowledge. So with that being said, I hope you can hear me all right. I hope I make sense. And I can't wait to give you a better, bigger, more verbose rundown of what I'm learning at the end of my course. Thank you. brought to you by viewers like you. Thank you, Miss Janet. I'm laughing because this is a lot to learn, but I'm gonna do it. And also, it's currently 8:30. I was supposed to start 30 minutes ago, but it's okay. Thank you. Thank you. I hope I made sense. On a very real note, I do hope I make sense. I hope so. It's okay. I don't know. It's okay. If you just stay, you came and watched. That's the most important part. I just feel so special. So thank you. Thank you for watching. Yeah, I'm excited. This is really interesting because when you think about how deep cloud goes, is that originally when I thought of IT, I only thought of what I do on a day-to-day basis rather than it being this backbone of building the infrastructure that a lot of companies are built on. Thank you. Thank you. So just to realize that I'm learning from basically the ground up on how it works to where my project actually currently is really interesting. So I hope that I'm learning more. It's X. It's X. Pass. X. This is what I imagine Isaac is spelled like. Customer. Oh, that's so sweet. No, that's so sweet. But yeah, don't judge me because I picked my nose. I'm the only one here. I'm just gonna watch this. They're like, remember the time? Brought to you. Where did we get there? I just think about like going through like really long videos is how do we get there? I just missed the whole part. I gotta go back. I just missed the whole part. I just missed the whole part, bro. What? Bro, what? Bro, what? Now we about to turn off the live and just be like, y'all gonna see the good, the bad, not that guy. Oh, and then I guess to add to that is the four different types of services, or so there's four different types of cloud services, and here's the four most common. I guess I don't know. I was scrubbing through and I missed them, but compute, which is just basically imagine having a bunch of VMs that are running applications and code. Cloud, which is having the virtual network to be able to define internet connections and internet isolations. Storage, virtual hard drive to store all files. There's really, I think, GitHub. And then databases is the virtual database storing, which is SQL. So query based languages that are stored for reporting the data and or database for a general purpose web application. So think that all this has to do really with, truthfully, with websites. Oh, I'm not done writing, but he said imagine, but virtual. I want to make a highlights reel from this and be like, so remember that time when I was learning this? Now I was punished and I gotta go back and rewatch this. Mm. Just said imagine the categories. Okay. So now it's what I just watched. But you know what? Repetition is key. Repetition is key, bruh. I'm cold. Got pants on, so I'm gonna put these on top of pants. Oh, it's cold. Azure. Oh, I got a cardigan too. We're gonna put this cardigan on it. This is really my. Oh, this is cute. This is really cute. Oh, so you're sharing the cost. You're just sharing the cost of like all these different management systems with other customers. Makes sense. Mm-hmm. That's where I got to get. Shoot. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, Oracle has its own. This is still cold. This man says, "Hey, it's Andrew Brown." I really wish we had a "Hey, Andrew Brown" counter. We got new notes. Hold on. Now this is actually. What is this? We need to talk about. We need to talk about how 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 we scrub through things. YouTube. Types of responsibilities. Yeah, so that's where he says software as a service. The software provider is responsible for. So there you go. That's what I was going to say. So on-prem, you're responsible for most of everything. You're responsible for your applications, data, runtime, middleware, which I'm going to assume that's like your laptops and things, peripheral devices like that, operating systems, virtualization, which is I assume taking everything to being virtual and clouds, your servers, storage, networking. So on-prem wise, you're responsible for everything, unlike the software as a service, where software as a service has to provide, like I said, everything: application, data, runtime, middleware, OS, virtualization, servers, storage, networking. That's all provided. So you have two ends of the perspective of the spectrum, and then you also have the middle, which is infrastructure. So I'm assuming with infrastructure, you're bringing your own applications, your own data, your own runtimes, middleware. I'm going to call it midware, and then operating system. So that's interesting. And then the parts that aren't covered is the virtualization, service, servers, storage, and networking. So cool. Most companies, I would believe, most bigger companies probably do like a half and half on prem and an ass ISA. I don't know, ISA. I'm gonna call it ISA. Infrastructure as a service. I just went back and we're gonna let it play. Let it play. I'm gonna just move my mouse away from the scrub bar. Oh, these people gonna ask me to sign in. I am not signing in. No, thank you. Let's look this up while he's explaining this. What is considered middleware when talking about computing? Oh, your database middleware. So I guess everything that's in between examples. I don't like these examples. The software that are different applications that communicate with each other, that provides functionality and connecting apps intelligently and efficiently so you can innovate faster. Okay. Public. Public. I don't know. I'm gonna have to get to be Picasso with this stuff. I'm gonna do the VNet. I'm trying to avoid scribbles. No. So on premises, so wait, what is this? Azure. Mm. That's a good question. Mm. You know, let me take a picture of this because I know for a fact that I want to make this into something pretty. And I'll probably print it out. So at least I will have it pretty and written. But anyway, public cloud, cost effective, it's in the green. Security controls by default might not meet your particular security standards. Configuration or level of configuration down is it is limited on what cloud-based services providers exposes you. Wait, so level of configuration, it is limited based on what cloud service provider exposes to you. So what you have open to you, that's what they give you is what you got. Technical, you don't need to know in-depth underlying infrastructure, but that's public cloud, which I see why having the on-prem and the public cloud, like having a split down the middle or having the hybrid modeling option makes sense because you're in the far less technical areas. Like in this, every single one of these, except for private cloud, has two reds. Hold on. You can't see it. It don't want you to see. It's not gonna show you. It's not gonna show you. But so it's just the development model and you can't see it. Basically, and I'll just go column by column because going across by across is kind of a little complicated for me to like understand. So going down cost wise, private cloud is pretty good because you're the most cost effective. Everything comes back on you. Okay, so public cloud because you're buying what you need. It's like Liberty Mutual. Pay for only what you need. Private cloud is the most expensive because you're buying everything. You're putting the money, the time, the resources, the electricity, everything else that comes with running a data center, you're doing yourself in the private. And then in the hybrid model, it's kind of good and bad because yes, you are putting the initial investment in on paying for this data center that we have and everything that's in this data center. It's expensive. It's expensive out here. But you're also, I would like to kind of hold it to a kin of going to your best friend's house and using her clothes. So, hey, Trin, they're using your clothes. So then you have that kind of model option where it's the most cost effective based on what you're offloading to the cloud. So, like I said before, if I only need a bunch of shirts from Trend, or I need a bunch of jeans, then what am I gonna do? I'm gonna go get some jeans from Trend. So thereby, I'm only paying for what I'm using from her. Security wise, I think this is the most blue one, which is security. So for the private one, it's going to be your security controls for the public are default. So they're whatever they default settings are, that's what they are, and they're not going to change. So it's up to you probably to secure your data even more. Private cloud, so there's no guarantee that it's secure. So instead of you having that base level security of like, okay, I do know for a fact that if anything were to happen, it's on the public cloud. It's all on you, babes. It's all on you. So it says there's no guarantee on it's secure, and then it can potentially meet security compliance requirements if you put that work in. So it's still once again up to me having to make sure that I provide my own lock, my own key, my own security devices. Granted, it's not even 100% foolproof that the security devices will keep out the threat actors. So, okay, now we're here. This first is a negative. I didn't realize this. So this is the hybrid model. We're going to go with the negative first. You have to secure your connection to the cloud. So ain't nobody get between you and that cloud. Ain't nobody gonna get you between there. That connector. What is it before that connector? Where is it? Right here. We're here. The connector. So you're responsible for keeping that straight, but it will meet all the security requirements because once again, just like it said it for the public cloud, since you're using a hybrid model, it's going to be those requirements. So then we're going to talk about level of configuration, which is really how your cloud is set up, what can and cannot go on, the different governances, I would assume. I don't know what that words mean just yet, so please don't. Hopefully by hour 7. Hopefully by like in 20 minutes, I don't know what it is. You can configure infrastructure however you would like with the private cloud. I think that's where from a beginner perspective, if I were to create my own lab or my own data server, or if I was like a cloud person running mine, I know of somebody who has a completely, I don't want to say completely, but I do know it's mainly on-prem data center. And once again, now I'm seeing this that it's the most efficient when you're a smaller team. Like when you're smaller, it's efficient. When you know what you personally need for your different loads, it's efficient. But then we start coming into issues when it comes down to security, the level of configuration, because you're also like based, or you can configure it however you want in the private cloud. But you also need to have an in-depth knowledge. So you need to have somebody on hand who is a networking cloud engineer who can secure your cloud. Dang, I got 36 notifications in the span of what, 5 minutes? I gotta quiet these people. This is all done in the span of 10 minutes. I gotta quiet these people. Don't they know I'm learning? I'm about to drop this in the chat. I'm about to drop this shit in the chat and be like, y'all wanna watch this? Come watch this. Um, but in the public cloud, for somebody who's just now starting out who has the credits to use these different accounts, ooh, so right now I'm in that very nice like setup way, but we're gonna move back to this. But I think as I probably play more around with how Azure is set up, my opinions on which one is the best would change, because I do want to have my own cloud. I would like to have my own cloud where I'm at the very least am paying for Azure services, because I mean at the end of the day I will be paying for some of these services because I want to get my own stuff set up. I have my own repertoire for what I've been demoing. So for that right there, that's important. But private clouds is expensive. Public is cost effective, but if you have a hybrid system with that's OG if you ask me. But I didn't get all the way down to the end of that, so I'm just gonna go back to the hybrid. Cost wise, it's great. You kind of off you pay for what you offload to the cloud, and you have what you pay for in your actual data center. You need to have a secure connection to your cloud, and then you also need to make sure, but the cloud will also meet all of the security. So if you can provide the secure connection, then you're going to be fine. The level of configuration, cloud and on-prem works perfectly for you, because you're given the services that are already provided and the exposure that they give to you. So that's what they're talking about, exposure, what they provide out there for you. And then private, you're able to configure your infrastructure however you want. So that's why it's the best. And then the bad part is that you need to have in-depth knowledge to configure all your infrastructure in cloud provider services. So that's where I am in this. Anyway, that's enough pausing. I'm just gonna watch now. Mm-hmm. Most policies, he said, may not fit those policies. Mm-hmm. I gotta go downstairs and get my laundry. BRB, y'all. But I'm taking the laptop with me. Cross cloud. This is the prices. Oh, we're actually into the cost. Hold up. We into the cost. That's the part we're going to talk about. Mm-hmm. Cross cloud, you can use multiple cloud providers. Imagine having like Google Cloud services and then, oh, okay, so you can have Kubernetes. Kubernetes. I hope by the end of this, I know what a Kubernetes is. What's a Kubernetes? Excuse me. Mm, mm. This being said, because y'all think my drawings are bad, I added some penguins and a whale. So this is total cost of operation of ownership, not total. See, just for that total cost of ownership. Okay, so we have capex and OPEX. So we just in the CapEx is for. Oh, I got 2 likes. Hey, the second like. I don't know who is here for the second like, but somebody liked it now. Now. I'm playing. That's so cool. Somebody else watch this. So Capex is under the on-prem, and then OPEX is for the Azure. So you can't see it, but just should I take this out and hold on? What have this sound? They're gonna get me for copyright though.
We have the top of the iceberg, which are the costs that we're generally concerned about, but then we have those hidden costs, those costs that we're not really thinking about, that is underneath the water. And icebergs, they can be really big underneath. You don't know. So on the left-hand side, the cost that we generally think of is the software license fees. And then for the cloud service provider, we look at the subscription fees. And so when you're comparing these two, sometimes the subscription fees can cost more than the software license fees. So you'd think, well, we should really just use on-prem because it's more cost-effective. But when we take in the total cost of ownership, all the costs involved, we're going to see a very different picture. So on the left-hand side, if you are on-premise, you have to deal with the implementation, the configuration, and the training, but you also have to deal with the physical security of your building. You have to pay for the hardware. You have to pay for the IT personnel. You have to deal with maintenance. Now, on the right-hand side, on the cloud, you still have to do implementation and configuration and training, but that's about it. So there's a big difference in terms of what you have to do. And you might ask, okay, well, what is the amount of savings? Well, generally, people find that when they move from on-prem to the cloud, they save 75%. That's a lot of money, okay? 75% of what you generally would spend. And so now all this stuff on the left-hand side is now Azure's responsibility. You don't take care of those anymore. Azure's going to take care of it for you. So that's total cost of ownership. Hey, this is Andrew Brown from Exam Pro, and we're looking at capital versus operational expenditure. So on the left-hand side, we have CapEx, so capital expenditures. On the right-hand side, we have operational expenditures, OPEX. And so looking on the left-hand side, capital expenditure is spending money up front on physical infrastructure. So deducting the expenses from your tax bill over time.
Oh, really?
Companies are used to dealing with capital expenses, and they know how to work their tax bill. And so that's why a lot of people are afraid to move over to the cloud, because they're used to this way of operating. But let's talk about some of the things that would be considered a capital expense. So again, it's anything that's physical, and then you're buying it with money up front. So computers, so that could be server costs.
Let's go back, because now that just makes that part of the equation. I didn't realize. So we're gonna just go back to the deployment models.
And so cross-cloud is when you're using multiple cloud providers. Sometimes people refer to this as multi-cloud or hybrid cloud. And so I just have an example here. So there's a service called Azure Arc. And what Azure Arc does is it extends your control plane so you can run containers on different platforms. And so...
well, since you're new here, let me just give you a quick rundown. So I'm learning about Azure 900, which is the fundamentals of Azure and cloud computing. Cloud computing is basically, as it sounds, everything that's stored into the... And didn't even like...
You can
keep my nuggets of truth for myself.
So you can be running virtual machines, and they're all treated like they're on the same network. So cross-cloud is becoming very popular with extremely large organizations where they have very unique environments. But I definitely want you to know what that is, because it just gets left out, and it's definitely something that is part of the industry. So there you go. Hey, this is Andrew Brown from Exam Pro, and we're looking at the concept of total cost of ownership, TCO. So what is the difference between on-premise, so having your own data centers, and then using Azure? You'll notice above it says CAPEX and OPEX. We're going to talk about that in the next slide. But for the time being, we're going to focus on the total cost of ownership. So to really make sense of this, I always use this graphic here. And if you're wondering what that is, those are icebergs. People sometimes think they look like teeth. And so just to make this drawing a little bit more clear, I've added some penguins and a whale. So there's no...
I'm not adding penguins or a whale.
The reason we're using this as a representation is because we have the top of the iceberg, which are the costs that we're generally concerned about. But then we have those hidden costs, those costs that we're not really thinking about, that is underneath the water.
So Top is top known cost, known expenses, unknown expenses. So
water, and if you know icebergs, they can be really big underneath. You don't know. So on the left-hand
I
side,
found
the
one for the
cost that we
penguin.
generally think of is the software license fees. And
Good
then
shot.
for the cloud service provider, we look at the subscription fees. And so when you're comparing these two, sometimes the subscription fees can cost more than the software license fees. So you'd think, well, we should really just use on-prem because it's more cost effective. But when we take in the total cost of ownership, all the costs involved, we're going to see a very different picture. So on the left-hand side, if you are on premise, you have to deal with the implementation, configuration, and the training, but you also have to deal with the physical security of your building. You have to pay for the hardware, the IT personnel. You have to deal with maintenance. Now, on the
Oh my gosh. Okay, that makes so much. That's okay. So hold on, and we're gonna color code this potentially. So I didn't realize that you actually. So all the things that are kind of taken care of, I don't think about all this stuff. Like working at IT, this never crosses my mind. Training, physical security, hardware. And if we get this done by tomorrow morning, we're gonna hop up. Thank you for liking the live stream. What's up? What's up? If this goes well, then I'll do another live stream tomorrow learning about Databricks and Data Factory and Azure Data Factory. So y'all can have the full sequel. And then after that, we're gonna go into a couple different niche topics. But so the main, I'm just gonna give you a little bit of a rundown. Thank you for staying and not leaving. Please don't leave. Let me explain this, then you can leave. Basically, Microsoft does everything under the sun, but they also provide cloud services. What's the cloud? It's basically where everything is stored. Why would you go to the cloud? Well, it's one cost effective. It's global. It's reliable. Hi, Delvin. Hi, Delvin. So, I mean, in a really like dumb layman's term, is you go for cloud because let's say you already know you need X, Y, and Z to get this done. But some days you may only need this pin to get this work done. So Azure Cloud allows for you to pay for what you need. So it's cost effective because you're not out here buying the whole grocery store. You're only buying bread, eggs, and some milk. The essential parts of your job. And right now what I'm actually watching is cost of ownership, which comes down to how do you know what you're choosing is the correct option for you. So we're going to go back to this. I've basically given you everything. And also the main issue for everything is how secure is our data. So in this day and age where everything's getting hacked into, you also need a strong point to silo all that data. So that's also where Azure comes in. Because if you ask me, any cloud provider is sticking their neck out there and they're saying, you know what? I'll take all the information you got and I'll hold on to it myself. And you can also automate it. So it can predict however much. So like, let's say in the fall, you're going to need a lot more storage because you're onboarding more people. Okay. But in the spring or after December, we're letting go of a bunch of people. New time of the year, we have a bunch of people coming in. We have interns. So it's going to take an automated guess of like, okay, cool. This is what we need for this day. I know. So Azure is the cloud service that is providing everything. So Google has their own, and the way that this YouTube video is being uploaded to so that you can see it is that this cloud provider is being put, hello, thank you, new viewer, but this cloud service is put into the cloud. The information right there is there, and then it's going to be sent over so that you can access it. Let's see what McAfee is. And I apologize, you can't see my screen. What is it McAfee? McAfee, I think. I haven't heard that since like, yeah, McAfee. I haven't heard McAfee since like I was a child. Oh, so that's just the extra. It's a global leader in protection and offering security products. So it would be like a next And I believe that was on this next page. But that's just an extra layer of security. But Azure as itself owns its or has its own security. But as I was listening to earlier, is that it also comes with its own flaws, because each service that is provided, and I say service very loosely, and I guess that's probably why you went to McAfee, is because you also have different resources. So you can have resource groups, storage, VNets, VMs, virtual machines and virtual networks, my bad. Databases that is holding all the different data factory, Azure, all these are different resources that are primarily through Azure's cloud platform services. And in this first kind of initial part, it's kind of debating why use the cloud versus why have your own premises. So I'm going to start using things so that we can it's just securing your data on your computer. It's basically like a firewall. So we're going to talk about these two things. Obviously, this is rose water and this is tamarind Doritos. So this is what you're providing. This is at your house. This is the room. This is our data center. Okay, so this is the data center, but you're responsible to make sure that every ingredient in this data center is taken care of. Whereas this is the cloud. Isn't she gorgeous? She is basically saying, like, listen, I'll shoulder some of the burden. So you want X, Y, and Z into the cloud and protected, and you want it to be cost efficient and scalable and always available for you, interruption free. Drink me. I will do it for you. And then we also have a lovely thing where we mix these two together, and then you get on-prem. You get on-prem / a hybrid setup, which is basically, okay, I'm going to mix this Doritos. Take this data that I got here, mix it with these cloud services that I got here. I might make something beautiful. This would be nasty together, but the cloud services, on-prem and hybrid, or on-prem and cloud public, is not. So essentially, cloud Azure gives you a way to really bring your own phone line and then get the service. It's like Liberty Mutual. Pay for what you need, not for what you don't need. And for bigger corporations, you're thinking about this. You're running web applications. You're running APIs, application programmable interfaces. Sorry, that was been a hard one. VNets, different templates, taking different data and migrating it, ingesting that data. So you're going to need X, Y, and Z different services, whereas on-prem can only offer you so much. And with this, they're talking about the overall expense. So with this Doritos, you aren't seeing the potential health risks at the moment. Like the unforeseen cost, you have to pay for implementation, configuration, training. And that's where you caught me in the middle of, was talking about, I didn't realize how many of these unforeseen costs actually come with having your own on-premises data center. So physical security, hardware, servers. Look up how much a server rack costs. It's like anywhere from $500 to like thousands of dollars. Personal IT staff that actually know what's happening, because when you have an on-prem data center, that means that you actively have somebody who is going in, putting in these different ingredients, monitoring these ingredients, making sure that whatever is put in here is, one, held to the NIST standard, two, that the information is available at all times, any time of the day. 3, you also have these people who built this architecture. So the issue that comes with this, and this is something that always happens in IT, is that you have one person, like 5 people max, who have put together this drink. So what happens when those 5 people leave? Oh, well, I guess we ain't getting the tamarind one no more. We got to just get a new one. That's not how that works, because then that's all that data that's just sitting in there on these servers. So there's that unforeseen cost. Whereas with the cloud, everything is subscription based. So it's pay as you go, it's pay as you need. And then as you incur costs, then you can kind of budget it like that. And whenever you work for a bigger company, you can oftentimes kind of like, okay, well, you see, we've spent X amount of dollars on this. Can we cut a deal? And he was going to, if we press play. It's gonna go to the point where it's gonna talk about, oh, I forget. Hold on.
Right-hand side on the cloud, you still have to do the implementation.
But thanks for thanks for the like. So yeah, and then for the Azure one, you just have to know the implementation, which is how is it going to work in your particular biome or your cloud infrastructure, and then the configuration of it. So that initial setup, which once again comes down to like 3 people who are building the same thing. That's a mess. That's a mess. But also it's like, keep your friend group small. Keep the people who are building this infrastructure small, because less to deal with, less to train, less to deal with, less eyes, less explanations. You have people who are on the same mindset. And then the training, which I'm doing. So then I can make changes.
A big difference in terms of what you have to do. And you might ask, okay, well, what is the amount of savings? Well, generally people find that when they move from on-prem to the cloud, they save 75%. That's a lot of money, okay? 75.
As a company, I want the rose water. I want to keep a little bit of the Doritos, but I really want that rose water, because as you just said, it's like 75% savings. So out of 1,000, that's saving 75. That's saving $750. Okay.
5% of what you generally would spend. And so now all this stuff on the left-hand side is now Azure's responsibility.
Also, ask any questions if you have any.
Azure's going to take care of it for you. So that's total cost of ownership.
Do you have any questions? I would love for you to answer questions, because at the very least, if I can't answer them, then I can look up how to answer them. Also, we're rounding into hour 2. And we're only 45 minutes into the video. She gonna tell me to be quiet. She's like, it's quiet hours. You need to be quiet. Don't stay in an Airbnb. If you have to do an extended stay, I would not recommend an Airbnb. Just saying. Just saying. IT personnel. What else was it? I can't. It's okay. On this one, implementation is you do have to pay. Say 75%. When they're doing fireworks at the baseball game. Oh, yet I'm inside studying. The dedication is real. When switching to hybrid, but that does make sense. Implementation. Configuration. Physical. Ooh, yeah, I think that is it.
Hey, this is Andrew Brown from Exam Pro, and we were looking at capital versus operational expenditures. So on the left-hand side, we have CapEx, so capital expenditures.
Capital expenditures, that is. So CapEx. And I believe this will talk about like why a lot of times people go for the on-prem versus the hybrid or the public model, because also public, you can't, there's a certain amount of security. If from how it's being relayed to me, there's a certain level of security. So that's why on-prem is a little bit better, because you're the one who controls the security.
On the right-hand side, we have operational expenditures, OPEX. And so looking on the left-hand side, capital expenditures, spending money up front on physical infrastructure. So deducting the expenses from your tax bill over time. A lot of companies, larger companies, are used to dealing with capital expenses, and they know how to work their tax bill. So that's why a lot of people are afraid to move over to the cloud, because they're used to this way of operating. But let's talk about some of the things that would be considered a capital expense. So again, it's anything that's physical, and then you're buying it with money up front. So computers, so that would be your server costs. If you were to buy hard drives, that'd be your storage costs. If you bought routers, cables, and switches for your network. If you were purchasing things for backup and archive costs. If you had disaster recovery, so like an uninterruptible power supply would be an example of that. You have your data center costs, so that's your rent, cooling, physical security. your technical personnel, so you're hiring people to do things for you. And so with capital expenses, you have to guess upfront what you plan to spend. Now let's look at operation.
Which I mean makes sense, but I also feel like a lot of companies already have that figured out when they give like their annual budget. Which is also I thought was like that's really it's a weird excuse when you're gonna save that money in the long run anyway, of being like, oh well, I don't know if I want to spend the money on the physical. Like it's a lot of money. Just it's a lot of money. Oh, there's a man outside. He might be intoxicated and yelling. I'm scared. Mouse man. I hope none of that is. Good. Then keep everybody quiet. Let's go pill. Oh, I thought she joined. Oh, it's dark now. Finally. Girl, because wait, where you're here? Oh. Say something in the chat. Is this showing that nobody's here? Watch it be like 30 people on the stream, and I just never known it because it didn't say that there was anybody there. Or send me a message. You don't have to say anything, but just send me a message. This was kind of federal. I'm about to take a picture of like, you aren't here. As soon as she sends something, I'm gonna actually trip. I did not leave myself enough room for that. Right now, this is really kind of giving me the breakdown on hybrid. I'll just start speaking when she comes, when she says something in the chat. But until then, I'm just going to keep writing. Cap X. It should just be cap and then X. Cap X, you have to guess how much. Hello? Hi. You're spending, but hold on. Okay, so first, let me give you a little bit of a rundown. So, learn with Sydney. Learn with Sydney. Okay, so basically, what we're learning right now is the cloud. Why move everything to the cloud? You're already you're tech adjacent. You know, cloud holds everything. You can get it back. It's just like Apple. Apple puts everything in their cloud, and you're hoping that they're gonna keep your photos, text messages, notes, everything safe in the cloud. The same thing goes with your corporate information. We're really more or less looking at this from a corporate standpoint rather than like a personal standpoint, even though personal does apply to here in this situation. But basically, we're going to just talk about Azure as a whole. So cloud computing and why move to it. So one, it's a cost-effective thing. You only pay for what you need. Treat this shit like Liberty Mutual. So we only need these 2 pencils to get our work done. So then you're only going to pay for these 2 pencils and the required items that go with it. So the same thing applies with that. Cloud is also global. There are many different regions that Azure is connected to. So if you put it in one, it's going to be available across the other different regions, no matter where you are. The security, this is the main aspect of really why you're wanting to go to the cloud is, well, one, all your data is there, but 2, the security of it. So cloud services are getting that provided security of like, okay, here's the physical security. We're going to protect the servers at which your data is stored. Then, but it's up to you to also manage the security of it. So like, I'll give you the point is that you're the door. the Azure's the door. It's protecting me from what's outside. However, how I defend myself as the data in here is really determined by you. So it also gives the architect the option to give this type of governance to this different. Why are you typing? Why are you typing? Just why are you typing? To give the different governance to the different people who need to see. So like business doesn't need to see every part of cloud, and cloud needs to see everything. The CEO might need to see or have access to seeing everything in their own Azure account, whereas the lowly fly in the room doesn't need any access at all. So that gives you the opportunity to really gauge who has access to what. Reliability, the data is always backed up. Disaster recovery and replication. Replication is just copying it and then putting it into a different server. And then fault tolerance, which is basically saying, okay, just like a robotic arm, if one part of the arm is not working, then it's going to stop the whole operation. So in this case, we have 4 different storage places. However, storage container 4 is not working. But no worries, because we have the information replicated to the other 3. We can still pull from that 3 and then not worry about that down storage system to hinder the production of the rest. You can also automate it to kind of decide on how much to give you based on the workflow that you have or the data flow that you have. And then you can also scale it. So like the same way I said, okay, today we need these pencils. Tomorrow we need Vaseline. So it's just a matter of fact of cloud gives you more access of what you're doing. So then we're going to talk about on-premises, because cloud is really good for all those different things. But when you have an on-prem, everything in here is a service, and I'm responsible for every part that's in this room. Period, point blank. I'm responsible for it. So that includes the light bill, the water bill, the food that I have to eat. Everything else is covered on-prem. It's covered by me on-prem. So then you can do a hybrid model where you have your stuff in here while also having your information and your data. I saw you talk. Like the stream. Girl, like the stream. Like the stream. Also, the new season of Phineas and Ferb. But the hybrid model basically gives you the best of both worlds, where I am the governor of this information, everything that's behind me, while also having some information in the cloud. I like to call the cloud your friend's closet. All these clothes, that's my data. So I'm going to go to my best friend Trinity's closet and then take what I need from hers. That's in the cloud, because I'm paying for what I need at that moment. I'm going to give it back because I don't fully own that service. So let that also be said. You don't fully own anything in the cloud. Your data is there, yes. But do you own it? No, because it's all paid for by the public service model of, okay, well, it's a price. It's pay as you go, but it's a price that is divvied among the different users. So then we talk about platform as a service, which is more of like Salesforce, Google. Then you have developer-esque things like, I believe it's Google Web Engine or something. That's how you make it, how you make applications. And you have infrastructure, which is basically the understanding, the governance, the understanding, and then what you're doing in the cloud. That's more of infrastructure as a service. And then you have platform as a service, which is for devs. Admin, so basically goes top bottom layer. Infrastructure as a service, that's a administrator administrating, you're governing over how the data is sent, where the data is going, what's put in there, what's not. Devs are the one who's creating everything. Then you have the customer, which is, like I said, Google, YouTube, anybody who's providing you a service that you're not personally responsible for. That is mainly for the consumer, which is a software as a service. So software comes with everything. Platform, you have to manage some of it yourself. And then infrastructure as a service, you are managing the whole thing by yourself. It's really administrators. So then we have the public cloud knowledge models, which you got to see my Picasso writings, my little Picassos. Ooh. I am for real. Ooh. So I'm just going to go through and explain these. But basically, you have the public cloud. Like I said before, everything is built on the cloud provider. So like I said, you don't own anything. Then everything else is on Private cloud is what you have to bring to the table, and then you have the hybrid, which there's a connector between the two, where you have your own private room, you have your own private data center, but you also rely on some aspects of the cloud. So then we're over here on the total cost of operation, because you can't talk about these different aspects and then not expect to talk about the price. Excuse my bad. It's a bunch of shit. It's a bunch of clothes. And we can't, expect to talk about this because this is real money, real data, real money involved. So on premises, you're kind of like you're dealing with everything yourself. You're paying for food, water, electricity, the personnel, the staff, the technology, the configurations of it, the implementation. Like all this is paid for out of your own pocket. Whereas with Azure, you're paying for the implementation and the configuration and the training. Everything else is handled by them. And then on that side, like it says, the storage costs, network costs, backups, disaster recovery, data center, technical personnel, like all that falls on you as the on-prem person.
Operational expenditure. So operational expenditure is the cost associated when an on-premise data center has shifted that cost to the service provider. So here, in this case, it's the cloud service provider. And the customer only has
I would like to say, don't forget to leave a like.
So
like, comment, subscribe, share.
Software and customizing features, training employees in cloud services, paying for cloud support, billing based on the cloud metrics, so compute usage and storage usage. And the advantage here is that with operational expenses, you can try a product or service without investing in equipment. So we have flexibility of investment, and we also, from the previous slide, we saw that we have a huge reduction cost. So there's two reasons, really good reasons to use the cloud.
Oh, I need to go back. No.
So that can be your server costs. If you were to buy hard drives, that'd be your storage costs. If you bought routers, cables, and switches for your network. If you're purchasing things for backup and archive costs, if you have disaster recovery, so like an uninterruptible power supply would be an example of that. You have your data center costs,
yes,
rent, physical security.
Oh, thank you.
Your technical personnel, so you're hiring people to do things for you. And so with capital expenses, you have to guess upfront what you plan to spend. Now let's look at operational expenditure. So operational expenditure is the cost associated when an on-premise data center has shifted that cost to the service provider. So here, in this case, it's the cloud service provider. And the customer only has to be concerned with non-physical costs. So what's examples of OpEx costs? Well, leasing software and customizing features.
That's your licenses.
Training employees in cloud services.
Me.
Paying for cloud support.
Not me.
Billing based on the cloud metrics, so compute usage and storage usage. And the advantage here is that with operational expenses, you can try a product or service without investing in equipment.
And that's the reason why I do personally believe that, obviously as the cloud technology becomes more and more advanced, but a lot more people are going to be switching to cloud, because think about it, as a business that's first starting out, investing the money to have an on-prem data center is just going to be astronomical. Whereas, like it says earlier, you're getting those licenses, leasing those accounts, training the employees, which honestly nowadays everything is literally on here. I'm doing the training for this exact purpose. The payment, so you're only paying for what you use, the scalability cost of it, and the pay as you go, PayG. That's what that is. Pay as you go. And then you're also paying for the cloud support, which Microsoft has pretty decent cloud support. So, and then, like I said earlier, the billing, the metrics. So that's also another big flex that Azure has, is like, oh, well, you can sample everything under the sun and it's free. It's free. So, it just depends on how much you use. And I also think that's a slippery slope as well, because then as a consumer, you have to be mindful of how much of the cloud you are partaking in and at what scale you're using it. Because that's also, I want to say, another thing that corporations would be worried about is how much are we paying for and what are we getting out of it? Because you can't just sit here and pay everything under the sun and then get nothing out of it.
We have flexibility.
Ooh, I needed to take these notes. That's what I was doing that for. The cost associated with on-prem is shifted to the cost of the provider. So I'm gonna do a nice little line down the side so I can write this stuff. Previous cost of previous price. Why do you keep locking? I need to be able to look at you. Previous price is now shifted to cloud provider. Customer only has to be concerned with their non-physical cost. So as I said before, what you got to pay for, what you have physical cost. Okay. Leasing software. / customizable features, training,
investment. And we also, from the previous slide, we saw that we have a huge reduction in cost. So there's two reasons, really good reasons to use the cloud.
Now we into the terminologies.
Cloud architecture terminology. roles that are around doing cloud architecture. So the first is solutions architect. This is a role in a technical organization that architects a technical solution using multiple systems via researching, documentation, and experimentation. And then you have the cloud architect. This is a solutions architect that is focused on technical solutions using cloud services. Understand that in the actual marketplace, a lot of times solutions architect is used to describe both a cloud architect and a solutions architect. And, these are going to highly vary based on your locality and how companies want to use these terms, but this is just me broadly defining them here, so just don't take them as perfect word in terms of what they're representing. So a cloud architect needs to understand the following terms and factors and factor them into their design architecture based on the business requirements. So we have the idea of availability, your ability to ensure a service remains available; scalability, your ability to grow rapidly or unimpeded; elasticity, your ability to shrink and grow to meet the demand; fault tolerance, your ability to prevent a failure; disaster recovery, your ability to recover from a failure. And there are a couple other things that that should be considered. They're not terminologies, but they're definitely important to a solutions architect or a cloud architect. And these are things you always need to consider as well. And this is just me talking to my.
Okay, well, I'm gonna take a second. So, just to read this, so a solutions architect is somebody who architects the technical solution using multiple systems by researching, documentation, experimentation. So they're the ones who are behind the scenes, who before they even initially bring this in, they're the one who's doing the research, who's finding how the documentation may or may not work. That's all I was getting. Thought I was getting hot.
Solutions Architect friends, where they'll always ask me these two questions after presentation. They'll say, how secure is the solution and how much?
I don't do anything else. This part's where's my highlighters, because this part is really the most quintessential. Because that's gonna be the first. Oh, I had to highlight those in the ugly orange.
What is this going to cost? All right. And so for the terminologies up here, we're going to define these right away. And we're going to figure these out throughout the course. We have two giant tables just on cost and security alone. So there we go. Hey, this is Andrew Brown or Exam Pro, and we are looking at the concept of high availability. So this is your ability for your service to remain available by ensuring there is no single point of failure or ensure a certain level of performance. So here I have a technical architectural diagram that is describing high availability. So the idea behind this is that if you have a server which runs your web application, if you were to run redundant versions of your server, if anything happened to a single server, traffic can always be routed to those other servers, and that way your service would remain available. Now, having multiple servers is great, but even what's better is having multiple servers in multiple data centers. Because something could happen to a data center and become unavailable because of a networking issue. So by being able to route traffic, or that way, you're going to remain highly available. And running a workload across multiple availability zones is what Azure calls their data centers. Ensures that if one or two data center becomes unavailable, your service will remain available. Very, very common to run at least 3 servers across 3 data centers. Now, how would you distribute the traffic or manage the traffic to all 3? And that's where Azure Load Balancer comes into play. That green triangle with the arrows, that is the representation of a load balancer.
I'm going to use solutions architect. No, because anywho.
So a load balancer allows you to evenly distribute traffic to multiple servers in one or more data center. And if a data center or server becomes unavailable, so unhealthy, the load balancer will route the traffic to only available data centers and servers.
So that's how so now we get to update my analogy. So instead of the data being in storages, they're now data centers. And then now you're replicating your data to the data center so that the data is always reliable. But oh no, how are we going to make sure that all of it is reliable at these different points? You get a load balancer, and it allows you to evenly distribute the traffic. So now in my mind, the question is, so can I use it from there? I use it from there. I use it from there. Okay. Time to take notes. But yeah, high ability remaining available at all times. You gotta be. So this is the point before where they were talking about reliability, but specifically fault tolerance. It's really talking about the fault tolerance, making sure that even if one part of the arm is unable to work, then your availability is going to be available there. I need to draw again. Oop. Very ugly version of what I needed. Oop. I did for it though. ALB Azure load balance. I wonder if this would go crazy as this on a TikTok. This would not. I would hate to be on TikTok. This feels like my speed. It's just not too fast. It said time to charge, but we've been able to get. Where is this computer at? Because I know this computer will die. Yes, this computer will die. As I say, one computer is a trooper, the other one will flat out be like, I refuse, and then just die. Yeah, once again, we're not probably gonna hit that, but I will stay on here until at least I get into like 12. Oh. My eyes are getting the crusties, bro.
So there you go. That is high availability. Hey, this is Andrew Brown from Exam Pro, and we're looking at the concept of high scalability. And this is your ability to increase your capacity based on the increasing demand of traffic, memory, and computing power. If you are a growing company, you're going to have to scale up. You're going to have to get bigger and bigger servers.
I'm gonna go do my laundry.
But there are different types of scaling, and the first type is vertical scaling. This is the most obvious one people are going to think of, and it's called scaling up. And what we do is we just upgrade to bigger servers. You need bigger hard drives, faster computers. That's vertical scaling. There's another kind of scaling called horizontal scaling, and horizontal scaling is described as scaling out. And what you're doing is you're just adding additional servers, because we saw with high availability,
Bigger servers. So you also, as an architect, then you also have to what? Assess whether or not you need to do vertical scaling, where you need to beef up your servers, buy bigger servers, or not you need to scale out, branching it. So, I hope there's a code pros and cons about why you're going up.
Hey, there's food downstairs. Yeah. No. Food.
Yeah.
Food there. No, here. Let me show you. Let me dish it up.
More. Bigger, scaling up bigger, horizontal, more.
Yeah.
Box. 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 Legs, legs, legs. Connect, connect. Legs, legs, legs. Connect, connect. Legs, legs, legs. Connect, connect. Okay. Cool.
We have a load balancer. We can distribute traffic to multiple servers, and 3 servers can equal the same thing as 1 big server. So horizontal scaling is when we add more servers of the same size. Hey, this is Andrew Brown from ExamPro, and we're looking at the concept of high elasticity. This is going to automatically increase or decrease your capacity based on the current demand of traffic, memory, and computing power. So this sounds a lot like high scalability, but the key difference is that it's automatic and you can decrease the demand, not just increase it. And so the way we would do that is that we would have a virtual machine or server, and if we needed more servers, we would add more servers, and if we need less servers, we would remove less servers. And so this is going to be accomplished using horizontal scaling. So we say we're scaling out, this means we're adding more servers of the same size. When we're scaling in, this means we're removing more servers of the same size. And generally, you're not going to use vertical scaling for high elasticity. It's just extremely difficult to vertically scale, because if you have to increase, let's say, your storage drive, and then you decrease it, you could lose data. So it's not a good idea or even feasible to do vertical scaling with high.
So you're building out your wardrobe, and then whenever you scale in your wardrobe, you're just taking some of the items out of it. You're not driving back in the rain.
Elasticity. Now, how would you accomplish being elastic on Azure? Well, you use Azure's VM scale set. So scale sets automatically increase or decrease in the response to demand.
Okay, cool. I keep misspelling schedule.
Or based on a defined schedule. And we'll talk about those in greater detail later in this course. And then we have SQL Server or Server Stretch Database.
SQL. School. The school. I actually for the longest time pronounced it as school. Stretching warm and cold transactional data. So I'm assuming like real and fake. That's a good warm and cold. Transaction. I'm just assuming it's live and what's not live transactional data.
Transactional data from Microsoft SQL Server 2016 to Microsoft Azure. Not something we're going to cover, but it's generally the same concept that skill sets do. So there you go. That's high elasticity. This is Andrew Brown from Exam Pro, and we're looking at the concept of being highly fault tolerant. And this is your ability for your service to ensure there's no single point of failure preventing the chance of failure. So when we looked at high availability, we had also said that was no point of failure. But when we really talk about that, we're really talking about being highly fault tolerant, because there's the word failure in the word, and that is what being fault tolerant is. And so how do we prevent failure? Well, we use the concept of failovers. So failovers is when you have a plan to shift traffic to a redundant system in the case a primary system fails. And so I have a graphic here that represents a primary database failing over to a secondary database. I have a bit of a description here. So the idea is that we have a copy of our production database, and we're going to call that a secondary system. And the idea here is that every time something is written to our primary database, it's going to be synced. So it's going to be sent over to our secondary database. So it's up to date, the latest database. And then if the primary database happens to fail for whatever reason, whether it's hardware or otherwise, something's going to detect that there's something wrong with the primary, and it's going to fail over to the secondary, and the secondary is going to be promoted to being the primary instance. And the key thing to understand is that secondary is standby. It's not in actual use. It's only in use when the failover occurs. So what would you use in Azure to build out a highly fault-tolerant system? That's where Azure Traffic Manager comes into play. So with this, and this works with a DNS level. And so the idea here is that you can fail over from a primary system to the DNS level to a standby. This is really great if you have regional failures. You could probably also use a load balancer, but this is the case that I'm showing here. But there you go.
I'm actually hungry, and I gotta go check on my laundry. Somebody else has their phones in there, so I can't. Excuse me.
Now, that's all you got. Talk shit, but I was always that then. Fuck you. Fuck. Oh.
This is so fucking unbelievable. But I just want somebody 3, 16, 35 times damn. I'm probably just doing the bottle sauce. The Airbnb lady yesterday was yelling at me because I was making too much noise. But yet she lets this shit happen. This is gonna be my fucking evidence to go screen record this and be like, okay. I really did think he just threw away what I was planning to use to plant seeds in, which I mean is fine because like whatever. Like they can go in, like I can go get them out the trash, please, and whatever. But the lady yells at him. The lady should be texting me all the time, saying my nails. Like who?
What's going on?
I don't know, but he didn't. Like, and I think I don't know what happened or something was me, but I went downstairs to check on my laundry. And so she was in school, and I was like, okay, well, I don't really do it. And I was drunk. So I just went upstairs and he like came out of the bathroom. So I'm like, where's my stuff? Where's my personal? Like, he's come back to home. And then he just threw the stuff I was trying to recycle. So I don't know. But you hear shit too? Because why she texted me yesterday talking about stuff fucking people. You're being too loud. I wasn't going to be loud. It was him.
Oh, it's
It was him last night.
oh, she said that here being like
She said that
minutes ago.
She said that shit to you.
Like 2 minutes ago.
That it wasn't you.
Yeah. Slamming the door, coming in and out.
See, that's why I was thinking that she was talking about me because I sent her a message. I'm
But honestly, I sent her, but she said that she sent it to everybody.
okay. I don't care. Don't just cheat it on then. I'm live streaming right now, so I just call all this shit. I'm about to record that and send it to her. Like it's not us.
Right. You need that.
Like he doesn't go to work at all. I noticed that.
Oh, yeah, you found that. I seen that on like Monday too. Yeah, I noticed.
Oh, that shit.
What is it?
He's a drug. So what we gonna do when you come back in? I'm not going. You be in it. I just got you all. She got look at that shit.
No, I just want to see what's going on. I don't fuck with anybody because I heard something about some kill something.
No, he said, I'm freaking tell you, I muted myself on that part. Fuck me. But like, he was like, that's why I'm gonna fucking kill you guys.
That's what he said.
He said, no, I don't. No, I don't. Get all the shit.
I'm sorry, hear shit. I'm like, kill something. What is going on down there? I just walked through the door.
Yeah. That was what I'm saying. You know what we just learned? Don't drink dark. Dark means demons come out. That's that harder proof, bro. That's why they call them spirits. Let them spirits out. Well, listen. Is he still out there? I'm gonna be really pissed off if she sends me a message. Just so- I think he wants to go.
Or smoking meth. That's some bad shit right there.
I hope this her because I want an apology. I want my she's a leader. I want my apology. Because now she's hurt her for the last fucking nerves.
No, I think she probably did some of that. You said last night, like literally last night. I wasn't here last night.
That's what was like. That's what I'm saying. She was like, I said to everybody. She did not say to everybody.
She came out of my door talking about having a different taking a shower. I'm like,
I take a shower up there. What's wrong with it?
she said something about the water.
Get a fucking shower head that actually fucking goes on me. I'm sorry, I'm over cussing on my life.
I'll be taking showers downstairs, but she thought, that's not what she was like. Oh, where do you take a shower? In the basement.
No, I'll tell her that she needs to get a proper shower head for that, then. Or a proper shower thing. Like, I'm just waiting for her to start sagging me. I'm like, no, ma'am, you're not. I'm glad she's still on.
Like some shit, lightning.
Oh, I thought that was nice. Look, we could have just been car cops over here. Now I'm waiting for one of the neighbors to come. But yeah, you just empty all the shit out to use. I was gonna use all of those empty glass jars to put my, like, I have seeds down there. Those are fruits I didn't eat. And I'll try to grow.
And you threw them all away. You ain't know that though.
No, he did not tell us how to use them. Oh.
He did it on purpose.
No, he probably didn't. He probably too drunk for us when he did. I heard the Chinese lady might be moving out.
She moving out.
I think so. He was just talking to her, but then he was. I might just need to come back and catch us there. And be like, well, sorry, we just have a kumbaya. You know, it's black people. We just have church. No, because we have a church. We have a church.
Come on, bro.
You good, buddy?
Come on, bro.
No, I just got all this shit on the street. The only thing you.
What did he say?
This is pretty strong language, sir. On my first job, I got served. What would you like to? My boyfriend comes. My boyfriend doesn't like that. My boyfriend thinks he's actually. Yeah, I talked to him before. He's just oh my god. Oh, stupid things. I would definitely. Some coming in. You know, he's gonna be real personal. Real personal.
I don't think he does that. I think he put up. That's the case. Like we said, sad. What was it? Is it past 11? Ain't it curfew time?
This is when you started on that ugly ass curfew message she sent me. Talking about some, it's quiet hours. We are never quiet. This is the first time, like, for what, 5 weeks I've been here, that we actually are enforcing quiet hours.
Shit, crazy.
Bruh. As long as y'all were there for this, like, everybody said, are you sure you want to go the Airbnb route? Are you sure you want to go the Airbnb route? You sure you want to go there? A common example is having the copy of the data, secondary data to your database. Where so that's why you update the one that's not currently working. So then you can go through, you can get the bugs, you can see how it works, how it operates. Then you're gonna put it into actual so that will by production prod. I said, come charge your phone, computer, charge your computer. Not there. This was just streamed 9 days ago, so at least before I leave, I want to take 3 different certification tests. Everyone. Where are you going?
Just chilling.
Girl, go home. Go home if you're gonna be late. Go home, bro. Go home. I do not.